Hello, welcome to Menacing MTG. We have an Orzhov deck here. Vito. Vito, in a different way than we usually use him, perhaps, or that I have. I mean, had elements of this deck, but I've kind of gone full in with a lifelink deck that allows Vito to return that life gain and transform it into damage against the opponent. So you've probably seen Vito at his best with the enchantment Exquisite Blood in Historic. But this is a standard deck. And I didn't know if I could pull it off. And I'm sure people have done some similar things with this. But, I just had this idea as I won a game with a Vito deck a while back where I won the game by giving all my creatures lifelink through Vito and attacking. And, he just took all that life gain and did that much damage to the opponent and ended the game. So I was wondering, as I usually do when I'm waking up in the morning or something, or sitting around having a cup of tea, how could this work best? So what I came up with was having a ton of small creatures that can return to the battlefield when they're wiped out. And gain lots of life, build a force, and just be able to come in there with Vito and put the end to the game. So I'm going to show you what I came up with. I figured that I wasn't going to have a lot of removal in this deck, and that would require having some formidable blockers along with the life gain philosophy here. So let's just go through this deck without further ado. So we have one, I'll said, 1/1 lifelink, and you can sack him to protect something. And 4 Charmed Strays. I've never used this in a deck before. So 1-drop, 1/1 lifelink creature. You can add 1/1s as you add more Charmed Strays to the board at one time. 2 Speaker of the Heavens, kind of an important card in this deck possibly. One way, one avenue to victory, where you can just create these 4/4 angels once you get 27 land if you can keep Speaker on the board. And we can lose them and still get them to come back, and I'll show you how. Archfiend's Vessel, scary card really. 1/1, 1-drop with lifelink, but when he dies, if he comes back, he can become a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying. 2 of those. 1 Village Rites. If something's going to be destroyed, you can sneak in with this instant and sack it instead and draw 2 cards. 1 Daxos. When creatures come on the board and when they die, Daxos gives you 1 life. 4 Boot Nippers. I had used this a couple times in the past, but not to this extent. I have 4 of them in here. This can come on with Death Touch or lifelink. Now, this is perfect for this deck because you have a lot of small creatures that are vulnerable, easy to kill. Bigger creatures come on, you get the big green machine coming, and to have something that's got Death Touch on it is really great. But if you have, an enchantment or a artifact deck or something with light creatures, you can put the lifelink on this guy. You get him on early, throw the lifelink on. There's 4 of them. I have 1 Tavern Swindler in here, and I recently played a game where I got the Tavern Swindler on as my first creature. And I proceeded to flip the coin the 4 following turns and lost all flips and had 4 life left and had like 5 creatures looking me across the board. So I don't recommend you flip the coin with this creature until you're kind of well into the game. You have some extra life under your belt. But it would be an amazing thing if you have lots of life and you have Vito on the board and the opponent has 5 life left, perhaps. You flip the coin. If you gain 6 life, Vito deals 6 damage to the opponent. So this is just one of those things thrown in there that can kind of end a game. But don't use it early. I suggest don't use it early. And if you've ever played Mirror Mirage, the red enchantment that allows you to duplicate the the creatures that you bring on with a flip of a coin. I have terrible luck with that. I have a deck with it in it. You should check it out. It's one of my early decks, and it's a fabulous thing. But putting things to chance in Magic is a different kind of flavor. But I wanted this in here because it can, not do harm, and it's worth the risk late in the game with Vito on the board. 2 Heliod Sun Crown. This is a great card. When you gain life, which you're going to do a lot of in this game, and he's on the board. Even as an enchantment, he adds +1/+1 counters to things. If you bring Boot Nippers on, a couple of them with Death Touch, you gain life. You can then add +1/+1 counters, and you pay 2 and give creatures lifelink until end of turn. So, a very great card in this deck. Call of the Death Dweller. Just one of these in here, but you can return up to 2 target creature cards with a total converted mana cost of 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a Death Touch counter on either of them. Put a Menace counter on either of them. So there's only one in here because we have Luminous in here. I'll talk about that in a minute. But oftentimes you can bring 2 things on the board with this. So just a great card to have in here. Can really shake up the game. Can bring a Vito back or something else. Okay, next on the list, Marauding Blight Priest. Now this is kind of like a Vito light. It's a 3-drop, just like Vito. It is not legendary, so you could have both these on the board at once. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life, as opposed to Vito, where whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So if you gain 4 life through lifelink, Vito does 4 damage. If you gain 4 life through lifelink, Marauding Blight Priest does 1 damage to the opponent. Good to know. But they can, you can have 2 of these on the board and 1 Vito at one time. Gain 3 life, that's 7 damage. So, Murderous Rider can kill a planeswalker or creature. Can come in as a 2/3 lifelink creature. Nighthawk Scavenger. Here's your defense right here, folks. 3 of these in the deck. Flying, Death Touch, lifelink. Scary card. Can get the lifelink machine going as a flyer, but is a potent blocker. Really stops the big guys from coming in. Can also bring them back with Call of the Death Dweller if you get lucky. Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Okay, this is the card for this deck. It's a 3-drop. Yeah, it's fragile. It can get removed. But there's 3 of them in here. It's legendary. You can only have 1 on the board at a time. Its surprise feature is the 5-drop. All your creatures get lifelink. Now, most of these do, but not all of them. So as we go through, you'll see some of the bigger creatures, flyers, don't have lifelink. So 3 Vitos. Luminous of the Dream Den. This is in here not as a companion, but just as a creature. 2 of them. It's very important because let's go through how many 1 and 2 drop permanents we own in here. So 1, 5, 7, 9, 11, 15, 16. 16 creatures that are converted mana cost of 2 or less. That means when Luminous comes on the board, you can, in any of those 16 that are in your graveyard, you can bring 1 on per turn that Luminous is on the board. So, and then, of course, Luminous is a lifelink creature himself. And I have had games when he's a 6/5 lifelink creature because Heliod is dropping 1/1 counters on him. And he's a scary blocker when that happens. It's hard for the opponent to see a way to victory when you're gaining a ton of life every time they attack. So, the Luminous, important thing here, to keep these little guys on the board. Okay? So, Luminous Broodmoth, 1 of these in here, whenever a creature you control without flying dies, which is the vast majority of the creatures, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Okay? A full-on duplicate of the creature, add a flying counter. Okay, you can only imagine um, having a boot nipper that's got death touch on it and flying counter. Um, Another kind of massive blocker. Okay, so great card. Keeps things on the board. Um, I'm going to jump over Extinction Event and talk about Nightmare Shepherd because it's of the same ilk as Luminous Broodmoth. 3 of these in here. It's a flying 4/4. The Luminous Broodmoth is a flying 3/4. This guy, when a non-token creature you control, any one of them dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1. So it does everything that the original creature does, but it comes back as a 1/1 version of that. And yeah, so and this Nightmare Shepherd, you can have more than one on the board, and they protect each other that way. They can return each other as 1/1s if you get swept. So yeah, so these guys are the Luminous Broodmoth and the Nightmare Shepherd are sweep neutralizers. So now, last but not least, kind of our last line of defense when all fails with Nighthawk Scavenger and returning creatures to hand, you have Extinction Event. And you have to be careful with Extinction Event because when you use it, you eliminate either all creatures, you exile them. So you can't bring them back to Luris. You exile all creatures with a converted mana cost of either even or odd. Okay, so a lot of these creatures are 1s and 3s. So oftentimes when you're using this, you're going to be using it to exile evens. And you just have to look at the board and say, am I going to come out in better shape than I am now? And it's a great thing to have because, yeah, you may say goodbye to some boot nippers. And what else do you got in here? That's 2. Heliod Suncrown. No, sorry, the Daxos. And Tavern Swindler. That's really it. That's even until you get up to Nightmare Shepherd and Broodmoth. But if you get those on the board, you're probably in pretty good shape. So there you have it. Extinction Event, your last line of defense. Nighthawk Scavenger is going to hold you off as long as possible, and you're going to amass life. You're going to create token creatures. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. This is kind of crazy stuff. All right, so let's take a quick look at the lands. 8 plains, 9 swamp, 1 castle locked land for card draw, 3 bright climb pathway. Choose a color. 2 scoured barrens, comes in tapped, but it does gain you a life. So if you have Vito on the board, guess what? It does a damage to the opponent as well as gaining you a life. All right, so without further ado, let's play some games. Okay, folks, so this is looking pretty good here. Oh, that hurts. Okay, good news. We have another one. Can I bring him on with this? Let's see. Okay, yes, I can. So things are looking pretty good. We got a 25 life total, and we're going to bring on another Nightmare Shepherd. And we're going to kind of come right in here with these guys. So they'll block with the Cleric. The question is, will they block? Oh, they're going to take one out, so he'll come back. Right off the bat, you get to see this in action. And he puts yet another counter on the other one, so I don't know if that was the wisest choice. Now, you bring on the flyer, he draws a card, gets another mana, which is a little troubling because it's possible he could have a counter spell. So I have options here. What I'm going to go for is the Blight Priest. I'm less concerned about having this. If it gets countered, it isn't going to hurt my feelings as much. The Nighthawk Scavenger, on the other hand, is a real weapon. And we get him on. So this is good news. So we can come in and attack with this guy, who they can kill, but they'll give something up, and he will come back and give this guy a 1/1 counter. And so when we gain life, they'll lose a life. And this is how the deck works. And I'm just hoping that I can get the Scavenger on the board. Apologize for the delay here, but here we go. And we're going to come right in here with the Shephard too. Apply some pressure. And they're going to bounce him. Okay, so we're going to lose the Charmed Stray if they block. Double block, that is. I'm happy to take that. It's not really a terrible outcome. Okay. So they're throwing down some serious tokens here. And let's take a look here. Indestructible, okay? They all have indestructible for this turn here. And so we just let them come in. Alright, this is excellent. We can only bring one in. And we will bring him right in. And we're just going to bring this one because if he dies, if they triple block him, and they choose not to, if they had triple blocked him, then he would have come back as a token and given a +1 counter to the other guy. Okay, this is tough. They got multiple copies of this, so everything I believe is indestructible at this point. That is tough. Okay, we have to let the flyer in. He's a 4, but we can block a 3. And let's see, this is pretty heavy damage we're going to take here. 9, 13, and 9 is 22 damage. I don't like that at all. I'm hoping they don't have any more of these. This thing is killing us. I suppose I could give this guy up and block another one. But I'm not going to. Take the damage. How many more of those things could they possibly have? Okay, this is fabulous, even though I don't have anything missing at this point. I am going to bring them both on. It's a little risky with Luris, but after that assault, we need to bring him. Okay, so they have this guy to block with, and they have this guy to block with. So everything is a bit more tame, but they do have a lot of items. So we are compelled to gain some life here. We're just going to come in with the Charmed Stray. They don't block it all. I was surprised they didn't single block. Okay, that hurts. Get the hell out of here. They're indestructible again? What is this mechanism? I am unfamiliar with it. They did not bring a new one on the board. If you have a full party, oh geez, okay, that's the gig. So let's see what we got here. Warrior, wizard. Alright, so we got to take this off. And he'll come back. Oh no, nothing's coming off. They have indestructible. Okay, this is where I guess removal would be helpful. We just got to block these guys. We're going to die anyway, so it's a moot point. So what's the biggest one they got right here? So we'll gain a tiny bit of life, but not enough. So good game. Okay, Vito goes down. Goes down big. Wow, that was impressive. I'll have to remember that. That is brutal, but it's I have not built a deck with the party thing. But maybe in the future I'll do one. I don't like it, but that's because I lost to it. Okay, come into this game, a pretty good looking game here. They have the Hollow Blade, which you can tap the Hollow Blade and discard a card and it gets indestructible till end of turn. Now they have the Bastion. I had just taken off Basri, which actually they left unguarded, which I think was foolish, but yeah, it's what it is. So I'm tempted to come in with the scavenger because I can build him up. I want to get my life up. I have Luris and I have the speaker down here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in. He's my big blocker though, so it is a little risky. And I'll put a token right on him. I'm hoping that he does not have removal. We're going to bring out the speaker. And if we lose something next turn, because we have 4 mana, we can bring Luris on and then replace them, put them back on the board. And we are going to lose something this turn, I'm pretty darn sure. I will not block Venerable Knight because he'll drop a 1/1 counter on... well, that has to be a knight, and he's not a knight, so I could take him out. He's going to return this to his hand. I'm not sure why he would do that other than to be able to play another token, but it doesn't seem of high value. Let's see what they do here. Okay. Oh, they did that on my turn. Okay, so they bring him back on. They bring another token on. I'm not sure why they do that, but now they'll bring Shepherd of the Flock on most likely. Okay, they're going to come in and we can take the Hollow Blade out, I believe. Let's give it a try. We'll let the others in. I'm assuming that he's already... Okay. He is tapping him. Can he still attack? Jeez, I don't understand that, but... We do get a counter on the Nighthawk, which is going to be our money maker here. Okay, so now this is where it starts happening. I'm tempted to come in with everything. It's 8 damage. Yeah, I am going to do it. Here's Vito. So now we just attack with everything, and the game will not end necessarily. But it's going to do a whole lot of damage. I think I'm going to hold the speaker back. But I'm going to gain 7 life. I'm going to do 7 damage through Vito. And I'm going to lose a creature. And he's going to lose a creature. That'll gain him a life and I'll lose a life. Now my alternative is I could Village Rites Alced, and I'm going to do that. And gain 2 cards here. So he does not gain a life and I do not lose a life. I would have gained one by him doing damage, but this is the benefit here. Bang! Look at this. We're going to go ahead and toss a counter on the speaker. And now if the speaker blocks, it brings him down to 2. He doesn't have any lifelink, although something would die and that would benefit them. So they just can't do the damage unless they have some boost here, an instant or something. There's the game. So there's the game. Okay, I'm going to pick this one up here. They're on their 4th turn. I've had 3 turns, and they've got these guys loaded up. What they don't know is that I have Extinction Event in my hand, and I can play it this turn. So let's take a look at why I keep Extinction Event in this deck. 1 drop, 1 drop, 3 drop, all odds. 2 drop, 2 drop, loaded up with enchantments, and I'm sure more to go. Now they do have a Luminous in hand, but we're going to be bringing on meteor creatures soon. So I'm going to clear these guys out with Extinction Event. Now they have me against the ropes here. 13 to 19, they got this guy's vigilant and flying. These guys are getting big and scary. So let's take care of business here. We put on the Extinction Event. We say even. Got to double check there. You never want to make a mistake. I've done it once or twice. There they go. And now we come in with 5 lifelink. Bang, bang, bang. And the tables turn. 18 to 14. Next we can bring out the Nightmare Shepherd. Ooh, Bootnipper and Stray would be good too, but we're going to go like this here. Alright, so we're going to come in with the Archfiend, and they're not going to want to block him because he's going to come back as a 5/5 demon. Luminous comes on. That'll give them access to a few things. But I exiled those creatures so Luminous doesn't bring those flyers back. Now they're bumping up Daxos. I'm not terribly worried about that. I'm going to toss up the Bootnipper with Death Touch. So I got a blocker back. Throw up the Stray. At this point, I'm going to come in with the Shepherd and the Vessel. So applying some pressure here. They don't have anything for flying. We gain a life. They lose a bunch. We've got a Death Touch creature on the board. Yeah, they can bring Daxos back, but... Okay, they're going to build him up. He's not going to do any damage to us, though. Oh, well, they can... That can help. So they can drop Alcid. I'm just going to go for it here. I'm actually going to put the Stray on him, too, because they're going to come back, because I have the Shepherd on the board. So I'm going to gain life, and he's going to die, or they're going to sack Alcid. Yep, they're going to sack Alcid. But that's good, he's gone. Now they can bring him back with Luminous, but this is just going to slow him down. My guys come back, and guess what? I can put an extra counter, I believe. Take action. Extra counter on the Bootnipper. Let's see how this works. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of... He's going to come back as Death Touch again. Alright, now we have nothing down there to take. We're going to leave these guys here, keep them thinking. We're going to come in with the Vest, okay, and they're going to fold. Okay, you got to see how this deck works a little bit here. You got to see Luminous bring things back. You got to see the Shepherd bring things back. Nobody wants to block the Vessel when you have the Shepherd on the board or Luminous on the board. So this is a pretty fun deck to play. I'm going to keep it short and end here. If you have any questions, let me know. Please consider subscribing. Yeah, it was fun. Have a great night.